Ah, yes, hello, welcome back to Football Therapy, friends. How you doing? Are you okay, friend? I really do hope that you are. Yes, welcome back to Football Therapy. And more importantly, welcome back to, of course, the daily show here on Football Therapy, which is Chelsea news. Ah, yes, willkommen, bienvenue, and all the other stuff. Good to see you, friend. I'm reflecting on some news articles today. I also want to talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi and Romelu Lukaku. That same old age old? Yeah, that works. Question about Chelsea's 7 attackers going into 3 spots. Who's the best? Is Callum Hudson-Odoi Chelsea's best winger? Or certainly in this system, in this lineup, in this team, in this current footballing climate, to not disrespect other talented forwards, is he the most effective? We're going to also talk about Spanish news stories from El Nacional, crazy things coming from Spain, talking about Reece James to Real Madrid, as are to Chelsea. Chelsea looking at Rodrygo and Real Madrid. We're also being linked to Raphinha of Leeds. Ooh la la. Lots to get into, of course. So, get comfortable. Hey, drop a like, friends. Let's see if we can get over 2,000. That would be nice. That would be helpful. So let's see if we can do that. You're, of course, all welcome to subscribe if you're yet to subscribe. Hey, pause, stop. So many of you watch this channel and you're not subscribed. Hey, why not? It takes a second. Just click the button, mate. It takes a second. Have you done it? Have you done it? You may have done it. Anyway, cool. So let's get into it. Before we talk about these crazy stories from El Nacional, I'm going to cite from where I've read them from, the stories and what's happening. Pinch/shovel of salt required for some of these news stories. Chelsea, I did want to start off the video and talk about Raphinha of Leeds. Chelsea are being linked to him. He's been linked heavily to Liverpool. He seems like a Liverpool player, doesn't he? A similar sort of profile of Diogo Jota at Wolves that went to Liverpool and just sort of got much better. You know what I mean? Excuse me, all these players seem to get better at Liverpool. Salah certainly got a lot better. Anyway, he does seem that sort of appropriate profile, like Jota, from Wolves to Liverpool, Leeds to Liverpool, doing well at his club. He's certainly the most effective player for Leeds and would cost a lot of money. I think he's very young, early 20s, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. And he's seemingly very effective, direct, and he's been one of the sort of analysts' favourites for a while, Raphinha. So you can understand entirely why the likes of Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp are targeting him for a sort of, contingency plan after the, Firmino, Salah, and Mane all move on. They're all like late 20s, going to be 30s, and they require a lot of sort of direct, explosive dynamism in their play. And of course, that will start to wane as the years go on. So with that, they're going to have to start looking for new, younger players, and Raphinha certainly fits the bill. But Chelsea are being linked to him as well. Chelsea have been linked with loads of wide attackers. We are surely going to sell 1 or 2 in the next window or so. It feels like that because it just doesn't click with Chelsea. And if you want to win titles, Chelsea have the ambition to be the best. Not just win tournament football like the Champions League, but to win Premier Leagues. That's what Roman Abramovich and Chelsea want. And Thomas Tuchel understands that's what his job is, to win the Premier League. And to do that, you do need cohesion, consistency, and chemistry up front with players that know how to play the system well and suit each other. No disrespect to Chelsea's plethora of attacking, talented players, but, perhaps they will need to start building the team in Tuchel's image, start, some slightly more sensible transfers, and that's only in hindsight, mate. All these amazing attackers Chelsea have bought, I, like many of you, got very excited, and I love pretty much all of them. Do you know what I mean? They're so talented in their own ways, but at some point you have to accept that you might have just bought a bunch of different jewels that don't fit the same piece of jewellery. Is that a good analogy? Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. Chelsea being linked to Chiesa, Federico Chiesa of Juve, now Raphinha. Of course, quite similar players in some ways, I'd say. Certainly very sort of dynamic, hard-working, wide forwards, quite explosive, like super direct when I go straight towards the goal. Liverpool probably favourites, most likely to sign Rafinha, but I did want to reflect on the story and talk about it. And we're going to obviously end the video talking about Hudson-Odoi and Romelu Lukaku. But let's jump over to El Nacional, Spanish Publicación. Talking all kinds of breeze, mate. Firstly, linking us to Rodrygo, the 20-year-old Brazilian attacker from Real Madrid. Of course, reportedly Real want Reece James. More on that in a moment. I'm reading this from the hardtackle.com. Chelsea are reportedly ready to submit a bid worth 80 million euros to sign the 20-year-old from Real Madrid. Chelsea are reportedly constantly ready and prepared to bid 80 or 85 million euros on a sort of a huge range of players. Chiesa, Marquinhos, both linked of 85 million euros, and now Rodrygo. I'm sure there's more, ladies and gents. Let's read you a little bit from this. According to the report, the Catalan outlet El Nacional, Chelsea will step up their efforts to sign Rodrygo from Real Madrid next summer transfer window. The Blues are readying an offer around 80 million euros, with Los Blancos likely to open negotiations for the 20-year-old forward. Isn't he in their starting front three? It's Benzema, Vinny Jr. and Rodrygo at the moment. Why? Surely if they want to long-term Galacticos, they wouldn't sell him. Unless, of course, they're trying to free out. I don't know. You can make your own decisions on that. Rodrygo goes to Real Madrid as a big money deal from Santos in 2019. While the Brazilian attacker has shown plenty of promise, he is blown hot and cold. Great. A player that you want to spend 80 million euros on, I'm sure. At the start of life at the Spanish club. As a result, the Brazilian attacker had to share game time with Asensio, Eden Hazard. He had to share time with Eden Hazard. A 100 million euro signing. That's weird. Lucas Vazquez and Vinicius Jr. Of course, Vinicius Jr. says he is nailed on as the left winger. Chelsea get into the transfer market for the attacking reinforcement amid uncertainties around the futures of Ziyech, Pulisic, and I'm sure there's another one in there somewhere. Recent reports have claimed the Blues are ready to sell Pulisic, while Ziyech has been linked to Milan, Dortmund, and of course, Barcelona. I don't think Ziyech will go to Barcelona now. Personally, Rodrygo is a great player. For me, is he the answer? I don't think so. A player that's sort of blown hot and cold at Real Madrid that would cost 80 million euros. I know this is coming from El Nacional, and you think this story could be bogus. Wait for the next one. But it's interesting because he's been linked with Chelsea before. Being linked again in Spanish media. What do you think, guys? In fact, open up a conversation. You can talk about Hudson-Odoi in a moment. But what do you think about bringing in an extra wide attacker? Are you thinking of Chiesa? Are you thinking of Raphinha? Are you thinking of Rodrygo from Real Madrid? Personally, I haven't watched him that much. Many of you down in the comment section may have done so. And then if that's the case, you'd be like, yo, Jan, he's the one. He's the one. We need to do it. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, we'll put a pin in that. I'll be keen to read your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section on that. So let's go to Sport Bible, that are also, I believe, quoting El Nacional, which they are. I'm just seeing here. This is from Adnan Riaz, the journalist. I'm going to read some of this. Real Madrid to offer Eden Hazard, ooh la la, as make weight in a, quote, player plus cash offer for Chelsea star. You know where this is going, friends. Real Madrid are plotting to use Eden Hazard as a make weight in a potential player plus cash offer for Chelsea star Reece James, according to reports in Spain. Hazard has been heavily linked with a sensational return to Stamford Bridge in recent weeks, with Madrid desperate to offload the former Blues ace. Desperate, ladies and gentlemen. End pause. You know my stance on Eden Hazard if you watch this channel. I wouldn't expect him to come back and be the same superstar. But if we got him for an absolute snip with subsidised wages and Hazard understood that perhaps he wouldn't necessarily be a nailed-on starter, I think he could be a massive difference maker, and I'll let my sentimentality run away with me. Would I let him be a make-weight for Chelsea's future captain, Reece James? Absolutely ruddy not, boys and girls, and let's make that clear very early. Let's read on. The 30-year-old Belgian winger has failed to impress at Madrid since 2019. Very true. His move to Los Blancos has now lowered their asking price for Eden Hazard. Hazard, who was under contract to 2024, so he'll only have 2 years left on his deal. Wow. Is also being linked with the former club Lille. That would be nice. And Premier League clubs West Ham and Newcastle. That wouldn't be nice. According to El Nacional, Madrid are now willing to use the Blues, the Belgium international, in a deal to swap for Reece James. It goes on here, so I'm not going to entertain this for too long. Reece James, of course, is one of the best young fullbacks / wingbacks in Europe. He's one of the young English generation of that sort of age bracket that's widely respected around European scouting networks. It's certainly very prevalent in German football. They look at these kind of superstars. Reece James can play right back, right wing back, CDM, right centre back, right winger. Probably play as a striker. He grew up playing as a striker. We've certainly seen him score goals. It's no surprise whatsoever that the Champions League winning fullback, wingback at just age 22 is being targeted by the world's biggest clubs. Will they get him? Certainly not. Will he want to go to Real Madrid? He'll be flattered, but why leave Chelsea? Why leave Chelsea? He's a Chelsea boy. We've all seen Reece James taking off the shirt, holding it up, kissing the badge, giving it to the opposition fans. He loves Chelsea and shan't leave. So that's enough of that silly Spanish season stuff. Let's move on and speak about... briefly, I want to touch on Romelu Lukaku, but there's not much to say, really. I said a lot of it yesterday in my match review when Chelsea beat Aston Villa 3-1 with a Romelu Lukaku masterclass off the bench. My stance remains the same. If he's not fit and he can't run or press and he can't keep up with the game, he's a massive liability. If he's fit, he's a world-class striker. That's pretty much it. It's nothing to do with player profile. You can utilise Romelu Lukaku wrong. It's very much a possibility, but people jump the gun too early in his first season at Chelsea number 9 proper. Do you know what I mean? On his return, judging him too quickly in a largely dysfunctional attack. Anyway, like we said at the top of this video, loads of talented attackers, not really an ethos of how we work and attack, because there's a lot of freedom and that can cause problems. But we showed you yesterday that if he's fit and he's firing, he's literally a Galactico level striker, difference maker. I'm not going to reel off all his accolades, but there are many. So yeah, Romelu Lukaku scoring again and should be a difference maker for us, but is one of the large reasons Callum Hudson-Odoi. There seems to be superb chemistry there. Now, of course, he assisted Romelu Lukaku for his lovely header, but also, I know Rom did all that individual work himself to win that penalty at the end with that superb run, literally bullying off players around him, absolutely incroyable. But people, a little sort of understated header from Callum Hudson-Odoi when he literally knocks it up and wins that sort of second or third ball that actually, in our defensive third, that allows Rom to run with it. That's very hugely important. And Callum Hudson-Odoi, I'm looking at his FB ref as I speak to you now. His tackles in the attacking third is in the top 4% of all European wingers. In fact, in terms of his creative and I'm going to read you off some stats now. I know some people find that boring, but this is in the top percentile for all wingers in Europe, I believe. Shot creating actions, he's in the top 10% of all Europe. He's in the top 8% for passes attempted. His pass completions, top 7%. But his live action passes in the top 2%. His carries into the penalty area are in the top 2%. His passes into the penalty area are in the top 4%. And like I said, tackles, top 4%. General progressive carries on the pitch, he makes 10.5 a game. And that's in the top 4% in Europe. This is elite numbers. And bearing in mind he's playing in the Premier League, the most difficult competition in the world, yet he's in these top few percent of certain wingers. Yeah, he's not free scoring, but no one is in the Chelsea attack. He's a sort of proper conventional winger that likes to carry the ball, take his man on, dribble, go on the byline, go on the touchline. Do you know what I mean? And carry the ball in. Something that we desperately need. Christian Pulisic is a dribbler, but he's slightly different. He's a bit more point and squirt as well. He's direct. He feels like a little bit more of a sort of poacher when he's at his best, Pulisic. But I know he's been misused and played out of position, but regardless to that fact, he's not been at his best for a while, Christian Pulisic. There is a very, very strong case and argument at the moment that Callum Hudson-Odoi is Chelsea's best winger, and more importantly, that he looks like he has the best chemistry with Romelu Lukaku, who, by the way, looks like an important difference maker. So there's a lot of stuff to take in there. I'm feeling my head going around in a tornado because I do love Christian Pulisic. In Project Restart, he was talismanic. He was amazing. I do think he has got it in him to be amazing, but he's been given a lot of chances. Yes, he's been ill. Yes, he's been injured, but still, if he's gonna be that kind of number, he's got the number 10 on his back. If he's gonna be that player, he needs to show glimpses of that player. Carry the ball, dribble, take man on. I'm seeing more of it from Callum Hudson-Odoi. Again, Hakim Ziyech, I've spoken about it many times, I'm not going to bore you, but I do think he's got this audacious, classy element about him that other forwards don't have at Chelsea, but does that mean is it going to work at Chelsea? I'm not so sure. I think he can be useful, but we're at the point now where we're not asking players to be useful every now and again. We're asking for players to be elite, top level, Galactico forwards that can play with each other week in, week out, and can make the difference. That's what Chelsea needs to be. The best. The best! You know, it's not about having this like dysfunctional attack when players can pop in here and there and do well. We're at a point now where, like, okay, pull it together, boys. Someone needs to do this. And at the moment, in terms of the wide forwards, when played in the left wing position, and perhaps when played with, you know, the right complement of players around them, Callum Hudson-Odoi is looking like the most appropriate. What do you guys think, though? Comment down below. It's a bit of a long Chelsea news video today because we've had a lot to talk about. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, please do drop a like. It does mean a lot to me and it helps me out. You're welcome to subscribe. Why not share the video if you want to help the Football Therapy family ferment its... I've got no more alliteration. Anyway, I'm done. Enjoy the football, and I'll see you later.